In the area of family and relationships, I heard three primary themes. The first is that in the area of families, that 2017 is a year of contending for families, and a year in which the contention will lead to victories in areas in which you had lost hope. The second area that I heard was that in 2017, that the relationships within the 7 mountains will be strengthened, and that the functional relationships among and between the 7 mountains will also be established and will also be strengthened. The third area that I heard is that 2017 is a year that is absolutely critical for establishing the right relationships in right alignment according to God's purposes. 2017 is a year that the enemy believes that he will throw out his final blow toward the destruction of our society and our foundational values. But 2017 is a year of blitzkrieg, when we will return the battle and the fight, in a year in which you will launch your own victory in my timing. What says this is not a year where you will lose the battle for your family. This is a year where you will gain and retain your family. This is a year where I will mature fathers, not just in the area of being a priest, but also in their functions as kings and in their prophetic voices. It's a year where they will attach real faith to the declarations and the decrees that they make over their families. It's a year that they will attach real faith to being able to hear my voice and to speak strategy and purpose and destiny over their families. It's a year where they'll walk in authority that will cause heaven to be established on earth within their families. This year their hearts will be so full of my own righteous anger that they and their families will war on behalf of their own families. They'll war on behalf of the unborn. They also will war on behalf of the youth who are caught up in the violence in our society today. It's a year where seeds are planted, where we will war and we will reclaim the lost generations and also claim once again the legacy for our successive generations, and we will have victory in those areas. The power and authority that I impart into the hearts of fathers will be one that they're not initially comfortable with. They may not know how to use it in the beginning, but by the guiding of my Holy Spirit, by the end of the year, if they'll submit to my training and maturing, they'll see visible changes in their family that will cause hope to arise and cause them to press into even a deeper level. 2017 is a year where I will restore true blessing from the Father, a prophetic blessing from fathers to their children and also to their spouses. Through that prophetic blessing and the blessing from the Father's heart that was always intended to be there, then I will resurrect and I will restore the dead and the dormant seed of promises and hope that had been once viable within families and have been lost. Absent children, whether it's emotionally or physically, will begin to return to their families, no longer tie themselves up in their rooms without communication. It may begin with small things like just eye contact that had never been there in 2017, but across the next 2 to 3 years, there'll be a communication that opens up that will also open up the family purpose as well. Absent fathers will begin to be drawn toward their children. They may not initially know what to do with it from their heart, but you'll see simple things like deadbeat dads will begin to send paychecks to their families when they never have done that before. Across the next 2 to 3 years, there'll be progressive involvement with their children. They'll seek their children out, and across time there'll be an influence that will be a godly influence as I work in their hearts. I'll give them the words of blessing that heal, words of blessing that deliver, words of blessing that impart direction and strategy and purpose and goals in their personal destiny from the words and the heart of their Father. Simple things will occur this year. For some families, you'll see major things. For others, it'll be simple things like just grade changes. It'll be maybe early in the year, maybe in the latter part of the year, you'll see your children beginning to change their relationships to more healthy relationships. And as the blessing begins to take hold in your children, then strongholds that have plagued your families for decades and for generations will begin to break. Plagues of financial loss or poverty. Could be in the area of family, health, generational curses. But as you step up as fathers and you speak a fatherly blessing that you hear from my heart, then your children's lives will change, and healing will and deliverance will occur even without it being formally delivered. Across time, if not in this generation, in the next, by example, your children will learn from you what it means to walk in an apostolic and prophetic authority. So this month, in the month of January of this year, it's important to begin praying with your family if you haven't already begun to do so. If you have, it's a year to incorporate teaching your children how to listen for my voice, teaching your children how to speak my voice, what I'm saying, to talk about what's going on in the world and what might be my part in that, so they begin to see that it's not the enemy who has control, but it's I who have control. And teach them how to war over there for their family, for the successive generations. And this is a year that above all things, do not judge your children, just love and just lead and just teach and just train. The impact on successive generations will result in new anointings arising in your family and across generation, new leadership abilities rising from your families. 2017 is also a year where the breaches within your families must be restored. So humble yourselves, all members of families, humble yourselves and take the lead in seeking forgiveness and causing those breaches to be restored, and determine that in 2017 you will commit to there not being divorce in your family and break that cycle of divorce where divorces have been present. In the area of the Seven Mountains, 2017 will be a year to accelerate the reconciliation between and among denominations in the mountain of religion. The denominational differences will remain, but in 2017, you'll begin to see new voices arising for unity within my church, and beginning to establish a righteous administration that's based on my word and my governance, and not based on pushing their own doctrines or pushing their own agendas. The common ground for reconciliation will be the turning the tide of violence, reversing social injustices, and reversing racial reconciliation. The result will be that there'll be a coming together of the heart, at least in these areas. And across time, what will occur will be a breaking down of the walls, and also a coming forth of the love from the hearts of the leadership in the church that's not been experienced by those in the world from the church. Unity will make way and make room for my voice to be heard, will make way for signs and wonders to occur in churches that have not believed in signs and wonders, will make way for my voice to become present in churches that have not believed in the prophetic voice, and will 2017, in short, will be a year that separates out the goat churches. 2017 will be a year where leaders of denominations will be called to the White House, and the current administration, the incoming administration, will work closely with churches to begin to, as Trump would say, make America great again. Out of that, the wall that separates churches from the state, that deceptive wall actually, will begin to be torn down, and the mountain of church and the government will begin to come together, and those purposes or political reasons that had separated church and state for control and deception will begin to be broken. 2017 is a year that I have ordained and determined that these mountains will begin to work together, government and state. So look closely for that to begin to change this year. Also look closely for the mountains of politics, government, media, religion, to be present in national, international affairs and study how these mountains work together to have a positive outcome and influence. This is a time to pray for a greater influx of godly leaders in these particular areas, and for the current leadership, especially in media, that is not listening to the voice of God, to be removed. In the area of relationships in general, I originally heard that there would be a realigning of partnerships in business. There'd be a realigning, an incessant realigning for the next several years in the area of nations, but these are areas that will be covered by other ministers, so I will leave that for those ministers. Personally, 2017 is a year to seek relationships that don't just encourage you, and to seek relationships that don't just feel good to you or to cause you to laugh or to enjoy life, but look for relationships also, whether you like the people or not that I bring into your life. Look for relationships that will encourage you in the right ways, but that will also challenge you, and that will cause the natural and the spiritual giftings that I placed inside of you to be challenged and to come out. So this is a year for hidden treasures to be brought out through relationships that might feel like sandpaper and at times might feel like clashing swords, but it's a year to definitely align yourself in the right relationships for those things to occur. So it is critical for you to seek me for the right relationships and make sure that you're on the same spiritual path, and make sure that you don't just feel good, but the relationship cause you to do well and to do good as well. That may mean that for some of you, you remain in covenantal relationships that you think you want to get out of, but you have to stay. If you don't stay, you lose your purpose and you lose your destiny. So if I'm telling you to stay in a place, stay. So this is a year that if changes occur in those areas, don't necessarily think that it's the hand of the enemy coming against you, but seek my face and see if my hand is in it and upon it. And if it is, go with the flow and know that when you get to the other side, that you'll be where you're supposed to be for all that I've placed inside of you to begin to establish my kingdom on earth. This is also a year where we'll begin to visibly see within the millennials and with those over the age of 60, a bonding that will bring out the very best that I've placed inside my millennial generation. The millennials are a generation that look for truth and find truth. They're a generation that is attached themselves to truth. They're a generation that I've given discernment to see what's right and what's not right. They don't necessarily have the wisdom or the life experience to know what to do with all that I've placed inside of them. So there'll be a close bonding of those who are older and those who are younger for purposes of mentoring this millennial generation for whom I have a special purpose, so that they can move out in accelerated timing to help to reverse what we see going on in society today. So millennials, I'm sharing with you, be open to input from those over the age of 60. Those over the age of 60, I'm saying that the Lord is saying, do not judge those who are younger and who appear to be different and who appear to in some ways just be distant. This is a generation, I've made them that way for a God-given purpose that they have not yet even seen. So open your minds and your hearts to each other, and you watch what will happen over the next 2 to 3 years. Amen. Let's now stand for declarations and decrees over this area. Thank you.